Good afternoon and welcome to this side event within Sweden Innovation Days. The title for this side event is How to Connect to the Swedish Battery Ecosystem. My name is Göran Stegrin. I work for the Swedish Energy Agency as an international business developer. And this side event will consist of 4 parts or 4 sections. There will be a presentation by Ms. Karin Kärr from Swedish Institute. And I will present as well as Mr. William Fuller from Business Sweden Germany that will also make the final part of this presentation. So I think we will start now with Karin. Please take it away and give us some of the latest info about Sweden.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. It's great to be here. I will give you a short presentation about Sweden and why we are in the forefront of the green battery sector. First of all, the need for global collaboration today is bigger than ever before, and we see the green transition as an opportunity to form new collaborations and sustainable businesses. And one of these initiatives, of course, in Sweden is Northvolt, producing the batteries for tomorrow. And you will hear more about them and their partners in this presentation today. But how come we can be so much in the forefront of this? Well, in Sweden, you come to the land of natural-born innovators. Already from preschool, we are taught to be creative and to re-evaluate our ideas. And it's not only the country of Nobel Prize. And as a result of this, we have a lot of big companies coming from Sweden. And as you can see on this slide, a lot of them has been around for centuries and are still around today. And we believe that a big part of that is their ability to be creative and adapt to new social situations. And also, as you can see on the slide, a lot of the companies that have been formed more recently are companies within the green transition. And in Sweden, we're very fond of rankings. And I want to show you some of the rankings that could be relevant for the battery sector. We are a very digitally advanced and connected market. We are an innovation champion on a global scale. And we are a global sustainable leader. And also, I think it's quite relevant to talk about here that 98% of Sweden's energy production is already fossil-free, which creates a really good breeding ground for the battery sector. So, how is this possible? Well, of course, we believe that collaboration and transparency are 2 key parts of this. And Swedish companies have a long background and good competence in collaborating together cross-border. But not just companies, also academia and government work together to form the best possible conditions to thrive. And I think also one of the reasons why we are so far ahead in the green transition is that in 1991, Sweden was one of the first countries to adopt a carbon tax, which meant that Swedish companies had to start thinking about how they could reduce their carbon emissions already in 1991. So when the rest of the world caught on, we were already quite far ahead in this. And it's, of course, too early to talk about decoupling, but we can see that the Swedish GDP has not been negatively impacted by the reduction of carbon emissions. And this is my last slide, but perhaps the most important part. We need you and we need collaborations more than ever, as I said initially. And when you look at this, you might think, what can I do? What role can I play? Well, I will hand over to Göran now, who will tell you more about how you can get involved in the Swedish battery ecosystem.
Thank you, Karin. The purpose of this side event is actually to give you an understanding how to get inside the system, to give you ways, to give you the possibility to access all the innovations and knowledge and the company expertise that actually exists in Sweden in the battery field. So I hope this will give you this information. I will start my speech here, how to connect. We are now digging into details. What are the players? Why? How should you connect? Going back a little bit again in time, we are a strong contributor to electrification in Europe. This is a key point if you're going to solve this climate issue that originates to a large extent actually from transportation sector. There are a number of drivers that's been decided in Europe as well as in Sweden. We are going climate neutral in Sweden and in Europe, already 2045 in Sweden and 2050 in the European Union. There is a need of resilience, supply, demand. There are a lot of things that needs to be addressed when you do this electrification. Today there are about 40 different gigafactories in Europe, but we probably need several hundreds in order to achieve this target. So we have a long way to go, but I think doing it together, I think that will be a great thing to do. There are a number of initiatives from the European Union that drives this development in the right direction. We have the battery passport, you have the Critical Raw Material Act, and so on and so forth. There are a number of acts that will drive this electrification trend and the battery sector's development. Capital, a key question when it comes to making this transition. Looking at investments in climate tech, actually it's about, I think, $12 billion is invested in climate tech in the Nordics. It's a huge amount of money. So there are capital available for the right projects. And also the venture capital sector, most important player in this sector to develop the businesses, is also very active in this. And I think 36% actually is investing in this sector, of the total amount of investment. Of course, it's important that you have to be aware of that it's not batteries alone. We have to have the infrastructure, we have the manufacturers of vehicles, we have Scania, we have Volvo, we have other multinational companies that are working in this field. So I think the foundation is solid for Sweden. I think Karin mentioned some of this. I don't want to spend too much time on it. We are across organizational collaboration. As you probably will hear later during this side event, we are a culture of collaboration. We are focusing on results and not that formal. So I think that's something that is vital to keep up with the pace that development is going currently. We are working very heavily in the European arena. Students, finance. We are part of the IPCEI projects. Northvolt is one actually. We have a very good connection in the grid. It's stable and it's in European terms cheap electricity. That's important when it comes to manufacturing of batteries. We are top when it comes to R&D and innovation, as mentioned before. And we also have a high degree of highly qualified and skilled workers and people available here in Sweden. This picture is quite a challenge to describe in short, but I would like this picture give you just a snapshot of the various players in this huge number that is active in the battery field in Sweden. We have players going all the way from raw material, from mining, refining, preparing cells, modules, application, recycling and reuse. All the way, as you see, we have players everywhere. But we cannot do this alone. I think the way forward is to collaborate And I think international players have a very important role here, and I hope you will be interested to find out more about this. Looking at the details here, we have, roughly speaking, this is a picture of Sweden. Many of you are probably quite familiar with Sweden, but we are 3 different areas where we see there are quite different prerequisites, different players, different activities going on. And starting from the north, we have the, we can call it the industry, the mining, the process industry. We have the power system and R&D hub that is based in the Mälardalen, in the Stockholm region. And we have the vehicle and mobility region in the western part of Sweden. So depending on what you are looking for a specific technology or a specific partner, you will have a guide here, hopefully, for you to dig deeper. Starting with the process and energy hub. This is actually based upon our long tradition of mining and metallurgy technologies. We have large deposits of minerals. Some are very important for the battery sector, but we have also, for instance, copper, silver, iron, of course. Not to say it's one of the most important things is we have the energy production in the northern part, and this is one of the reasons why the first gigafactory in Europe is actually located in this region, and that is, as Karin mentioned before, Northvolt. They have built the first gigafactory there, and it's up and running now. But there are other key players. Some of you might be interested in R&D or maybe academic research. We have that as well. We have material science companies. We have companies working on the application side. So I would say, depending on what you are looking for, you can have a deeper look in each of these players active in the north. If you're interested, there is a number of organizations that will welcome you with open arms. Their task is actually to support you. When you are interested in knowing more about this region, they will welcome you. And there are some names here of these organizations that will take care of you. This is a more detailed picture. You have LKAB, Mineral, Polarium, Northvolt, of course, Boliden, a number of them. Going south, Stockholm region, Uppsala, Västerås, Södertälje, Norrköping, Linköping. It's an area where the expertise lies within electrification, automation, and to a large extent, the hub for battery R&D. We have the Ångström Advanced Battery Collaboration Center in Uppsala. They are probably one of the leading R&D centers in Europe. We have Northvolt Labs. It's a pilot line. We have Scania. I guess most of you are familiar with that. We have ABB and a number of other companies, small and large. And of course, we have the finance institutions pretty much concentrated to Stockholm. You have also access to the capital. Another picture, same region, more detailed. Everything will be available for you to download. So I think I will not dig into the details of the different players here, but we have a pretty good number of actors all the way through the value chain. Now going to my hometown, West Coast. We have the mobility hub. If you're looking for activities within the mobility sector, transportation, you will find it here. You have Volvo, of course, but you also have other activities, incubators. You have R&D, of course, but also various testing and demonstration labs. I would like to mention SEAL, Swedish Electromobility Laboratory, just recently inaugurated, huge testing site for electric vehicles, all the way from, I guess, small cars to buses or heavy haulers. Skip that one. Now we're going to the south, or almost south and almost south. Skåne and Östergötland. They have some really interesting key specialities, and a lot is connected to materials, material science, deep tech, really base research. We have the unique ESS Max 4 laboratory in Skåne. We have a lot of company working with surface materials and other kind of high-tech solutions that could be applied in the battery sector. So that is another little bit twist of what you can do within the battery sector. And if you would like to get in touch with someone, if you find some particular player interested, you can go different ways. You have all the promoting organization mentioned in the previous slides. Those are your friends, really. Other friends that will support you are on the national level. Swedish Energy Agency, but you have also another set of research and innovation funders on the national level, but you will also have a lot of regional contact points, like different investment promotion organization mentioned here. And I think, I also would like to especially mention the enormous incubator, science park incubation system we have in Sweden. There are almost 100 science parks and incubators in Sweden, and all of them have their niche and specialities. So this is also something that could be very relevant for anyone looking for cutting-edge technology within the battery field to look into. But this is something that we love to make accessible for you. That ends my presentation of what's cooking in regions. Unfortunately, my colleague Charlotte, she could not attend this meeting or this event due to some pressing activities actually involving exactly what I'm going to speak about now. We have just recently, actually last week, launched something we call the Swedish Battery Arena. And I would like to introduce you to this, what it's all about. It's a hub to accelerate the sustainable growth of the battery value chain, right? Nice words. What does it mean? I will try to give you an insight what we are trying to achieve by doing this. I think this is no news for most of you. Battery demand is exploding. Currently, there is most of the batteries today are actually supplied by China and to some extent other Asian players. But I think 1/3 of the batteries are produced in one single Chinese companies. This is good. We need it. We need more batteries in the future, maybe talking about hundreds gigafactories. So it's good, but there is a market opportunity for more players now. And I would strongly state that we actually have a unique position. Sweden, together with the Nordic countries like Norway, Finland, to some extent Denmark, Iceland, we are really collaborating and working as one in many cases. But when it comes to Sweden, we really have the low energy cost, and it's stable. As mentioned also again by Karin, we are actually leading in sustainability. It really started in the 70s, I would say, with this, I don't know if everyone recalls, Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. So we are really have been doing this for a long time. We are really a leading research and talent place when it comes to batteries. So we have the foundation to do great things. So what are we trying to achieve in this battery arena? Well, there are, of course, barriers to make this really happen, to make this a thriving sector. We have to have good regulations. This is nothing that is unique for Sweden. This is a case, I would say, for many and most countries. We have to have talents because we need experts, we need working force. We talk about 3,000 working in a gigafactory. So we need to have the talent. We need to have the investments. We have to have policies from the government that enforces this. And raw material access, this is something that is really important. We are talking a lot about what's happening in African countries. In some cases, it's not a good thing. So we need to secure a sustainable raw material access. And sustainability, that is baseline for everything. These are areas where the Swedish battery arena will focus its efforts now in the beginning at least. We launched it last Monday. And the mission is to actually accelerate the growth of this sustainable battery value chain in Sweden. The objectives here is to focus on areas where we feel like we are stronger together. It could be in any of the areas mentioned previously. And to set a clear direction, we would like to inform about Sweden as a battery nation. And of course, share information and increase transparency and collaboration between all partners. And international partners are also welcome to this. This is not exclusively for Swedish players, but internationally you are also very welcome to take part in this journey. What we are trying to achieve is to connect this triple helix line of thinking. We are trying to connect the public side, private stakeholders, all the way from start to begin, from start to end in the battery value chain. To make this happen, a sustainable value chain need to involve all partners. We cannot exclude industry. We cannot exclude R&D people. We cannot exclude investors. We have to work together. And the purpose of this arena is really to connect people. This is basically what we are focusing right now. This arena will start with 5 different focus areas. This is something that will change when time goes on. We will start this arena and running it for about 5 years. But what will happen maybe next year already, that depends upon the participants. What do you think are the important things? So we are starting this up, but the direction will be decided by the participants, what they prioritize. We're looking at regulation and policy, talents, accelerate R&D. We try to improve access to capital. And of course, when you're talking about you internationals, make it more easy for you to get an entry point to the Swedish battery ecosystem. We have just launched a very early data platform to show a little bit what it might look upon when you go to on the web. This is a very early stage. It is continuous development, so you will probably see a lot of changes, but this is a start. All this will be available sooner or later on the web, and where you can find R&D, you can find companies, you can find projects, set up collaborations, ask questions, a lot of things. The time plan, we launched, actually this presentation was prepared last week, so it's not today, it was last week. We launched it April. We will start with activity groups, working out the details. And I will say that would run for a couple of months. And in June this year, we will launch a real digital platform that you may use for free. So get in touch if you're interested. You can join. The best way to use this is actually to give input. You have the possibility to change direction, to influence the work. This is how you can sign up. You will get information, probably a newsletter. You can scan this code, and you will get a form that you will just add information. I will keep you well, in the loop. And this will, of course, be shared on Sweden Innovation Day's website. So I think you don't need to try to copy that code. So thank you very much. I think now it's time to leave the word to William Fuller at Business Sweden to give you some of his experience coming from outside Sweden to give you some tips on the way going to looking at Sweden.
For the quick introduction, my name is William, and I will give you a little bit of an outside perspective on how Sweden is viewed internationally, and in my case, it would be from Germany. I'm working for Business Sweden, and for those of you who don't know, Business Sweden is a Swedish trade and invest council, and it's partly owned by the government, and it has a twofold purpose. On the one hand, we're helping Swedish companies to grow their sales and presence internationally, and secondly, we help foreign companies investing into Sweden. I'm working in the German office in Berlin, and we have very diverse tasks. Like I mentioned, we help Swedish companies find partners in Germany, but we also organize event and delegations, both in Sweden and in Germany, where Swedish companies can meet German counterparts, and especially where the German companies can get informed about Sweden and how they could invest there. And we also actively are looking for companies with solutions that we think would fit very well into the Swedish ecosystem in order to help them with their investment decision and, like I said, inform them about the Swedish market. So I think I'm well suited to talk a little bit about why companies, in my case specifically from Germany, are looking towards Sweden and what needs to be considered a little bit. So why are German companies looking to Sweden? And if we look at Germany, it's a country with a lot of legacy industries that have dominated the market for decades, with one of the main examples being the automotive industry. However, these industries are often not very innovative and are struggling with the challenges of sustainability, the constant need for change, high energy prices, and the need for skilled labor, and many, many more. And for some of these challenges, Sweden can provide very relevant solutions. And one of the main strengths of Sweden, of course, is the high level of innovation, with Sweden regularly being in the top 3 most innovative countries in the world, this year being in second place. And some examples for these innovative companies in the battery landscape include Northvolt and Altris, but there are many more. And of course, with Northvolt being the biggest example here, we know that they have just established a production site in northern Germany to be closer to German OEMs. However, of course, this also goes into the other direction, with a lot of the big German companies being active in Sweden and actually investing more and more in recent years. Just 2 examples include, for example, Bosch, who are producing some of the heat pumps in Tranås, or Siemens, who are producing turbines in Finspång. And very relevant for this high level of innovation and also the pull factor of Sweden is the Swedish triple helix approach, which is building on a culture of cooperation, transparency, and flat rather than hierarchical organizations. It's about the stakeholders of government, industry, academia, joining forces to coordinate strategic directions, programs, and funding for technology innovations that benefit everybody. And a great example for this is the cooperation of the Swedish Energy Agency, Business Sweden, and the Research Institutes RISE of Sweden that for example, resulted in a delegation of Swedish companies from the battery ecosystem to Germany, with the goal of connecting the Swedish ecosystem to German players, and for, of course, the German companies to build up a relationship, start cooperations, and in the end also to attract these German companies to Sweden and have them understand what the ecosystem is and how they could benefit from it. And this collaboration is not only apparent within Sweden, but it also extends to the other Nordic countries who are working closely together with Sweden to create not only national, but also regional ecosystems, as the countries realize that they can have an even stronger pull factor for companies as a region. An example for this is the Nordic battery collaboration, where Sweden, Norway, and Finland are collaborating and are aiming to become Europe's leading sustainable, competitive, and innovative battery ecosystem by 2026. The collaboration is also open for foreign companies that have a presence in the Nordic countries and is actively looking for new companies to join. Another thing German companies are struggling with at the moment is sustainability, and particularly high energy prices. And again, Sweden offers both relatively cheap and, even more importantly, green energy, making it highly relevant for many industries trying to increase their sustainability efforts. And this could be done by setting up facilities in Sweden. From the research side, I already mentioned RISE, who are one of the leading research institutes in Europe and have many different testbeds throughout Sweden, which are open for international companies as well, of course. And they're actively working collaboratively with the companies on new materials and solutions for the future. And one last thing that makes Sweden highly relevant also for German companies is, of course, the presence of the Swedish OEMs and venture capital companies that are looking for new solutions and are constantly screening the market to find new solutions and startups that could help them distinguish themselves from the competition. And from Business Sweden, we actively are helping both the OEMs and startups in order to get together. So what are another few things to look out when we're talking about Sweden? Of course, there can be quite a few differences between the countries. As I mentioned, Sweden has very flat hierarchies. When we look at Germany, for example, the hierarchies tend to be very hierarchical, which means decisions are being made top down. This can, of course, be a little bit faster, but it makes it a lot more difficult to influence, understand reasonings behind that. Swedish companies in general and the whole country is very advanced with very high scores when it comes to digitalization. And this, of course, in other countries can also be a big difference. For example, in Germany, we still don't have a comprehensive nationwide 5G network. And overall, language barriers in Sweden tend to be very low, and most people will be able to speak English in the business context, making it very easy to start working and integrating into the Swedish society. One last thing that I would like to mention here is relatively low bureaucracy levels in Sweden. With the example, for example, if you want to set up a new business in Germany, it will take you a few months and a lot of paperwork to do it, whereas in Sweden, it only takes a few hours. So overall, Sweden is very open for innovation, and it's actively looking for innovative companies to come into the company. And there are several incentives and subsidies available for foreign companies that want to do this. I hope you liked this very short introduction to Sweden. And if you would like to know a little bit more about Business Sweden, the Nordic Battery Collaboration, and of course, investing into Sweden and what the mentioned subsidies could look like, you can write me. My email and my contact details will be shared here. I wish you a very nice day. And now back to you, Göran.
So thank you, William. It's great to have a fairly unbiased view on Sweden and Swedish people. That was our last presentation. And before we close, maybe, Karin, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, I'm really happy to have been a part of this. And I myself also learned a lot about the new opportunities in the battery sector. So I really hope that this will spark new collaborations globally.
Great. Thank you, Karin.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining this. And finally, thank you very much for attending this. Any questions regarding the presentations, or you would like to know more, you will have the possibility to contact any of us. Karin, me, Charlotte, I couldn't attend, but runs the arena. William, regarding Germany, and Robin Pettersson, that is in charge of the Swedish office. So thank you again, and I hope to see you soon in Sweden.